Hi and welcome to the Crusaders versus the Highlanders post-match reaction brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for rugby opinion and predictions. And the Crusaders beat the Highlanders 45-22. I think most of us were expecting a Crusaders win. I had the Crusaders down by 7, and obviously it blew out to more than that. Hi, Jack, good to see you on the live chat. And really, it started off badly for the Highlanders. Interested they couldn't really get their exit strategy working, and then the Crusaders went through 18 phases, before Bridge went over in the corners. A very typical Crusaders play there, managing to get good ball retention, going through the phases, as I say, and eventually the Highlanders sort of just ran out of tacklers. What we saw was some really good finding of space by the Crusaders scrum half and out wide to Bridge, and really picked his man out there very well. Unfortunately, after during that, Moody got himself injured, or soon after that got himself injured. And had to go off on 5 minutes, which just brought on a local hero, Crockett, for his 200th game. It was a bit early for him, having to go through 75 minutes this game. Obviously, a man used to coming off the bench nowadays, so a big old shift from him in this game for his last big one. And just a comment towards about the end of the game. Time's up. Highlanders commit a penalty. The announcer asks, "Who do you want to kick this? Do you want Crotty?" And the whole crowd cheers, and then Richmond Wanger takes it, taps it, and kicks it off to kill it out. So that was not a great, not really the finish that everyone wanted. I'm not sure Crotty fancied having a kick at sticks. I don't think he's that kind of person. He did run obviously on with his 2 kids at the beginning. So we had that. We then the Highlanders got themselves up into Crusaders territory, got a penalty, went for the line-out maul, got another penalty, went for a scrum, got another penalty, went for a scrum, and eventually it comes back down. Eventually they give a penalty up to the Crusaders, and the Crusaders managed to hold them out. And that was a big, big moment of this game. Crusaders obviously up, Highlanders with their first opportunity to score, and the Crusaders don't let them. They march down the pitch with a couple of penalties, have their own line out in the Highlanders 22. Lovely move off it rather than doing the maul, which very nearly put Crotty over, but didn't take very long. I think like 2 phases after that. And we saw Havili go over in the corner. Havili, someone that I think a few of us have had some comments about this season, said he's not playing his best rugby. Get a good game tonight, safe under the high ball, getting himself on the end of some moves. And I say in this case, again, got picked out wide. Well, there were quite a few of them out wide there at the time, and ran it in nicely, untouched, to put the Crusaders 12-0 up. And Crusaders and the Highlanders were really having a bit of penalty problems at that stage of the game, and again they did after the kickoff. Luckily for them, Wanger, who had actually a good game tonight, missed touch with one, which meant they didn't lose that much territory, but it could have been a lot worse than that. And then on the next one, Whitelock. Well, the commentators were suggesting he got it stolen off him by his own player. I'm not sure. I think he rolled over and put it up quite nicely for it to be taken off him, to see Lomax go over for a try. So they did manage to, the Highlanders came back well and got that try. Just for then to give up a silly penalty from the kickoff, Luke Whitelock gets the guy who's just had a good break, created a try, gets caught offside. And interesting enough, the Crusaders take 3 points, which I guess took them from a 5-point lead out to an 8-point lead, so it takes them to 2 clear scores rather than just the 1. But it was interesting to see they chose that. And the Highlanders soon afterwards take 3 themselves to reclose the gap. So it's interesting to see both sides taking their 3s, and yet next time the Crusaders go down, they missed their 3s, sorry, they didn't miss it. They decided to go for the corner again. So it was interesting to see how the captains sort of felt momentum was at the time as to whether they went for the corner or whether they took 3 points. After a bit of a struggle, the Crusaders did eventually take a second kick at sticks and take the 3. We then had what we'd call a quintessentially Highlanders try. Turnover ball, spun wide. Ben Smith runs at the line. Sopawanga, having passed it, quite a long pass to Ben Smith, runs in support, gets the ball, breaks the line, and off he goes. Wonderful support by both Smiths, and Ben Smith goes over. The Highlanders, All Blacks, all combining there to score that one. And you thought, okay, 5 minutes before half time, Highlanders just got themselves a score. 1 point in it. They've got a good chance of going into the break, only a point down after being sort of 12-0 down on just 13 minutes. That was a great result for them. Except no, the Crusaders kept on playing after the hooter, and some wonderful offloading and support lines by the forwards. No, the backs not really involved. Saw them get a try under the posts just before half, or just after the hooter, which meant they went in at half time 25-17 up, reopening that 2-score gap, all importantly. And as I say, those scores around half time are all important. What happens? The Crusaders come out straight from a scrum, and the Highlanders scrum, they'd been winning their own ball but always under pressure all night, whereas the Crusaders scrum was much more rock solid. This one was rock solid. Kieran Reid got to run off the back of it. Mwanga manages to gets the ball, chips ahead, outpaces the running defence, collects it brilliantly, and scores a try. And suddenly it's 32-17, so 15 points, so 3 scores. And you've got to say at that point it's a long way back for the Highlanders. Sure, they have the quality, and they've done it in the past, but it was always going to be quite an ask for them to get back into it from there. Naholo didn't have the greatest game up in Fiji. Had been pretty quiet all night. Suddenly hits a great line from deep, goes through a gap, and with his pace he scores to pull one back. But to keep within 10 points after 40, with closing back into 10 points after 45 minutes, and then we went through a period of lots of what's what I'm looking for, substitutions, and also lots of bad hands. It got a bit scrappy for a good for nearly 20 minutes when we didn't actually have a score at all. Lots of dropped balls from both sides, and turnovers, and really getting into a real fight there, and with quite a few mistakes. We then saw the Crusaders eventually get some territory, get a penalty, and kick sticks, which makes it from 10 to 13. So it doesn't increase the number of scores, but we had a period of nearly 20 minutes without anyone scoring at all. So I think the whole reason the Crusaders took the 3 points there was to get that scoreboard moving again, get it ticking over again, and then they finished off with a nice try and also another penalty with time dying out. A couple of crazy wide passes to Bridge. By crazy, I mean really long ones. The second one paid off, and he went in for the score to get his second try of the game. But he could have could have been another one as well. The Crusaders were good at spotting where the space was and throwing those long passes and going for it. I think just about, there might have been a couple of interceptions in this game, one each, something like that. But on the whole, the only way you got interceptions were players who were offside, and so they quite often got called back. Looking at some of the stats, the Crusaders had more of the possession and more of the territory, and they did give up 17 turnovers to 14, so a few more than the Highlanders, but when you consider they had more of the ball, not that much. And with 13 clean breaks to the 7 from the Highlanders, it shows you they were much more clinical with the ball on the night. I said that the Highlanders looked like, I mean, it says this, they won 10 out of 11 their scrums, but quite a lot of the time they were under pressure. It wasn't clean ball, unlike the Crusaders, who were much more solid. Tackling, surprisingly, 77% by the Crusaders, 83% by the Highlanders. And one of the points that Steve from Cornflakes Crib made in the preview was that the Highlanders give up quite a lot of line breaks, but they are one of the it's their scramble defence that allows them to survive and to win games. So they did take advantage of that, and it didn't pay off tonight. The Highlanders' kicking game tonight was pretty poor, to be honest with you. Normally a side that likes putting up contestable kicks and creating broken field play. A lot of their kicks tonight were too long, and the kick chase was quite often just one guy on his own. There wasn't a line there allowing counter-attacks. David Havili also had a good night tonight in the air, taking the ball, which obviously didn't help things for them at all. I mean, tonight their kicking game for the Highlanders was off. Sopwanga had a bit of a mixed game in that kind of sense, but also some of the box kicking and kicking from Ty Walden, who had a good game, as did Thompson, but again, some of their kicking game wasn't on song tonight. Just having a quick look at some of the players' stats, and George Bridge with 78 metres was the guy with the most running metres. Goodhue had 68 metres, and he had a couple of breaks towards the end, but perhaps was outplayed by Thompson at times during this game. And most of the runs were by Luke Whitelock, got through quite a few carries, and as you'd expect, Kieran Weed had a few, but Luke Whitelock was the top carrying player amongst the forwards. Then on the defensive side of things, not so much big shifts, but Franklin got through 10 tackles. He took top tackler. Whitelock with 14 and Lenties with 11 gives us your top tacklers. So all of those on the Highlanders side, and you can see a lot of the tackling was done by the forwards for the Highlanders. Actually more the tackling. Thompson also got through 9 as well, and Walden. So yeah, definitely much more the tackling done by the Highlanders in this game. But the story of this game, really, the Highlanders kicking wasn't quite there. Not they didn't manage to. They weren't clinical when they got down into the Crusaders 22, especially early on, which let the Crusaders get in the lead. And once they're in the lead, they were never going to be caught. Let them use the scoreboard pressure, etc. Sensible and play by the Crusaders, which we expect seeing all season, and what we should expect more from them as well. Crusaders now have tied up the number 1 seed in Super Rugby for the finals, so they're not going to be travelling anywhere now. They're going to have all their games at home. Next weekend they have the Blues at home, and then as all their finals games will be at home as well. So it's very hard to look past the Crusaders not having had to travel since before the international break, and so that home advantage is going to be key as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hit the old like button and do subscribe on YouTube. Otherwise, retweet and all of that kind of lovely stuff on the old Periscope and Twitter. Thanks very much for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow night after which game is it? Oh yes, the Hurricanes versus the Blues. Can the Hurricanes get back on track? Because they have had some pretty poor form. Really need Bowden Barrett to step it up for them. So do enjoy whatever rugby you're watching.